The Pacific Ocean is far bigger than most of us can even begin to comprehend. If you stood on the coast of Chile and dug a straight tunnel through the earth, you still wouldn't reach land on the other side. You would end up in the Pacific Ocean once again. In today's story, we return to a fact many people forget. Our planet has 5 oceans, and among them, one stretches so wide, so endlessly, that it dwarfs everything else, the Pacific Ocean. This single ocean covers 165 million square kilometers. To put that into perspective, the total land area of our entire planet, every continent, every country, every desert, forest, and mountain, adds up to only 148 million square kilometers. Meaning, even if you completely ignore the other 4 oceans, the Pacific alone is larger than all the land on Earth combined. Scattered across this enormous ocean are just a handful of islands, and even those islands are so tiny that on the world map, they appear like pin dots on a blue canvas. Most of them have never been touched by human feet. But the question is, how did he stay alive for 438 days in the middle of the ocean? Before we get to that, we need to understand why he went out to sea in the first place. The year was 2012. In a small Mexican coastal village called Costa del Sol lived 36-year-old José Alvarenga, a skilled and experienced fisherman. On the 17th of November 2012, José set out on a routine trip with a companion. The plan was simple: fish for about 30 hours and return home. Because of that short schedule, they carried only minimal supplies. Their little 7-foot boat had just a small cabin and a refrigerator for storing fish. They packed only 1 day's worth of food and water. José had no idea that the next 438 days would become the most terrifying chapter of his life. They traveled about 120 kilometers offshore and cast their nets. But right then, a violent storm struck without warning. To save themselves, they abandoned their nets and turned the boat toward land. They fought the waves for 6 straight hours, and by dawn, they were just 20 kilometers from the coast. They could even see their village far in the distance. The storm was behind them. Safety was almost within reach. And then, everything went wrong. Just 20 kilometers from home, their engine died. No anchors, no sail, nothing to control the drifting boat. They had only one hope left: a radio. José quickly sent their location to his boss, then waited for a response. But before any reply came, disaster struck again. The radio's battery died. They were now completely cut off from the world. And as they sat there, stunned and helpless, the ocean delivered yet another blow. Powerful winds began pushing their boat back out to sea, slowly, painfully. The coastline faded away. José's boss immediately launched a search mission, but by the time teams reached the area, it was too late. 5 days had passed since the storm. The winds had dragged their tiny boat 450 kilometers into open ocean, a place where you could look in every direction and see nothing but endless water. The men knew their boat was too small to be spotted. They had no flares, no smoke signals, no equipment to call for help. By now, they understood the truth clearly. Their chance of survival was less than 1%. Their food and drinking water were already gone. To stay alive, they began catching seabirds that landed on the boat, grabbing them with their bare hands. They caught fish that swam near the hull and ate them raw. And because seawater is deadly to drink, they collected rainwater in old plastic bottles floating inside the boat. When the skies stayed dry for days, José had only one option left to survive. He drank the moisture he squeezed from fish and turtles, but only on the rare days he managed to catch them. Days slowly turned into weeks, and those weeks eventually stretched into months. The psychological torture both men endured during this time is something no normal person can truly understand. Eventually, José's companion reached his limit. After 4 long months at sea, he simply couldn't bear the suffering anymore, and he took his own life. Just like that, José was completely alone, trapped on a tiny drifting boat, surrounded by nothing but endless blue. According to estimates, he had now floated into one of the quietest, most isolated regions of the entire Pacific Ocean, a place so empty that even giant cargo ships rarely crossed it. More than 6 months had passed since leaving the shore of Mexico. José had lost his partner, his strength, and almost his sanity. Isolation was crushing him from the inside. Then one day, far on the horizon, he spotted something he hadn't seen in half a year, a cargo ship. For the first time in months, hope surged through him. He screamed, waved, signaled with everything he had, but from such a distance, his 7-foot boat was practically invisible. The ship continued on its path and disappeared. Imagine that moment, battling death every single day, clinging to life with every breath, and the one chance of rescue drifts right past you, completely unaware you even exist. No one can measure a pain like that. By the time 11 months had passed, José had drifted nearly 8,000 kilometers across the Pacific. His clothes were shredded, and the only thing shielding him from the burning sun was a torn piece of cloth. But then, after 14 months of hopeless drifting, fate finally shifted. On January 30th, 2014, José noticed something unusual: coconuts floating in the water. He instantly knew what that meant. Coconuts only drift out to sea when land is nearby. Moments later, he saw it, an island. Terrified the currents might drag him past it, just like before, José made a desperate choice. He jumped into the ocean and swam with every ounce of strength he had left. And after 438 days, for the first time, he stepped onto solid ground. On that island, he found a small house and a local resident who became the first human being José had spoken to in more than a year. The island turned out to be a remote part of the Marshall Islands known as Ibon Atoll, a tiny dot in the endless Pacific. Remarkably, it was nearly 10,000 kilometers from where José had begun his journey. Pure luck had pushed him straight toward this one small piece of land. Had he missed Ibon Atoll, his next possible landfall would have been the Philippines, another 5,000 kilometers away. From the island, locals helped José return to civilization, but the moment he reached home, a new storm awaited him. José released a book titled 438 Days, sharing his unbelievable story of survival. But the family of his deceased companion accused him of murder, despite José repeatedly explaining that the man had taken his own life. Hopefully, you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you so much for your wonderful comments. And I'll see you in the next amazing video.